Hello, hockey, basketball, and soccer fans. My name is David. I thought I would start this video at, a bit after 9:20 on the evening of Friday, 8th of September, 2023, North American Eastern Time. What I will do is make this video about goaltending and how important it's likely to be for Canada's NHL teams. So, I can say this video over here. So yeah, from the Hockey Sense YouTube man. I'm going to provide a link a little bit later. But first, thought I would do is I'm going to talk about the goaltending for Canadian teams heading in the usual order from Western to Eastern Canada. Yeah, so I agree with a claim made in a video put out sometime on on Monday Eastern Time by the Hockey Sense YouTube man. I'm not sure where he's based, but just going to go up to the channel, look it up here. Doesn't know what country. Not really sure. I'm not really sure, what country he's based in or his company is, but yeah, obviously it's going to be rather important. I mean, when it comes to the Canucks, the health of Thatcher Demko. Last season, at least the first, at least for the regular season, the first, 1.5 months or so, weren't very good. A lot of times, or a few times, at least a couple games, I have reaction videos to the home game that Canucks played in October against the Canes, and a road game later on in the season against the Kraken. I could count in each of those games this many ugly goals that, at a bare minimum, Demko had given up. And that Carolina game, yeah, it's post a link later, but it's in response to a clip narrated by Sarah Davis of TSN on that Bell-owned TV network's Sports Center episode, Sports Center broadcast after that loss to the that Canucks lost to the Canes. The Canucks had put up by then a 0-5-2-0 win, regulation loss, overtime loss, shootout loss record. Well, basically 2 points over 7 games. 2 out of a possible 14 points. Wasn't very good. That season was a disaster on so many levels. And when I look at the record for the regular season, when it comes to the when it comes to the goalie tenders, I mean, I would say Artur Shilov's Latvian goalie, known in Russian as Artur Shilov, although I'm not really sure what his origins, other than Latvian are. I don't know if he has, Russian ancestry. I honestly don't know. But there are, names that are written in Latvian. They're written a little bit differently in Russian. It's a very interesting one. I mean, just like, different Chinese dialects have, the name, that's spelled, last name is spelled one way, Hsiung. That is spelled in another form in Chinese, in Chinese as Xiong, or Sheng or Shong. I don't really know why it is, but before I get too off topic here, just played, I believe, this many games at the NHL level other than preseason ones last season. Will Shilovs take the next step up? We'll have to see. Because last season, Spencer Martin was a lot of times a sieve. Against in December against the Calgary Flames, that second goal was an ugly one. It just right through his 5 hole. The Flames had by that point tied the game up 2s, and so yeah, Carl Delia was a sieve. Who's now with the Jets? Well, under contract to the Jets. Whether that means Delia gets a chance to play at the NHL level this season, we'll have to see. I'll get to the Jets goaltending situation in a little bit. So yeah, I mean, Canucks defense. Surely there were some changes made. About in terms of beefing up the blue line a little bit with additions of Ian Cole, picked up off free agency from the Bolts. Carson Soucy picked up off free agency from the Kraken. It was another bottom six center, Teddy Bluger. Earlier in the summer, I believe sometime in July, and then in August, P.S. Suter, leaving the wings. Yeah. So we'll have to see what happens. I mean, there have been quite a few pickups from March onward. I mean, really, it comes down to by then the Canucks, did pick things up, but it was quite a bit too late to make a playoff push. Yeah, the Canucks was season was a disaster, and I'm not saying that a very good October means it's like they're going to win the Stanley Cup or even make it to the postseason. Last two seasons, the couple seasons the Flyers started off very, very good, and then they just fell on down. Started off very good, and then they fell like that. So just go to the Philadelphia Flyers Wikipedia page, read about it. I read it. So yeah, a good start does not guarantee a good finish, but it does help. And certainly it helped last season the Winnipeg Jets. I'll get to the Jets a little bit later. So yeah, the defense, scoring wasn't such a problem for the Canucks. I mean, they finished in the top half of the league in terms of scoring. It's when defending around the net wasn't very good. Blue line was crap, but by no means did the defensemen have a monopoly on poor play of the puck. So it's going to have to be much improved. Will it be? We'll have to see. Goaltending's still going to matter because again, it does in the postseason too. But perhaps I'll say more on that later. Now I'm going to move on further east in Canada. Calgary Flames in the south of Alberta. Last season was not very good for Jakob Markstrom, former Canuck, or Dan Vladar. Yeah, a lot of times both were sieves. Dustin Wolf got maybe a couple games of work, but it was basically the Markstrom-Vladar duo. Markstrom started more games, so natural, right? But again, there were other factors. But again, there were those soft goals that Markstrom allowed, and that helped kill the Flames' chances of seeing playoff action. And well, they ended up a couple points short, and thus, didn't qualify. So I thought I would do is, Flames goaltending is going to have to be better, but even if it is, I'm not convinced they're a playoff-bound team. I mean, they've still swapped out winger Tyler Toffoli for another forward, Yegor Sharangovich, for the Devils. Toffoli wanted out. Well, it's just the right thing to do. But they're a long timers with the Flames, looking for new contracts. Whether they want to all sign with the Flames, and when I think of long timers, I think of Noah Hannafin, Rasmus Anderson, and who do I think of there? Yeah, Noah Hannafin, Rasmus Anderson, and if you Elias Lindholm. Yeah, it's very interesting. Going to be a very interesting team for the Flames, but at this point, yeah, I give the offseason an F. I don't know, basically 3.5 stars out of 10 because the meat of the problem is expiring contracts set to expire this season, and sure the Flames may have cap space come their 2024 offseason, but yeah. But, where they're going to find players to fill out their roster. It can get quite expensive. And the off season is the time to be bold. Well, it hasn't worked so far, so let's see what happens. But goaltending may very well prove the difference, as unlikely as it is that I see the East Flames seeing playoff action in the spring of 2024. Now I'm going to move on to the Edmonton Oilers, a team that I predict, with the Leafs, will finish in a top 3 divisional spot. The question will be where. Golden Knights and Kings are pretty good. Seattle Kraken, I don't want to discount either. So, yeah, it may be that. The Kings, Oilers, and Kraken are going to compete for top 3. For the last 2 of the top 3 divisional spots. Golden Knights are still very, very good, and I see it being an absolute battle, dislodging the first place for the Golden Knights. Finished first in the Pacific. The old weak division. Well, not quite. Let's see what happens. But the Oilers goaltending was mixed last season. Regular season, Jack Campbell was very consistent, but Stuart Skinner was quite good. In the postseason, the roles were pretty much reversed between the top 2 goalies. I believe Matt Berlin was the only non-Skinner, non-Campbell goalie to play even 1 minute of regular season time, or postseason time for that matter, for the Oilers. Let's see what happens, but again, looks like the Oilers are pretty set. Unless one of their goalies gets injured, then, well, yeah, not sure what's going to happen, but hey, I figure that the Oilers have it pretty taken care of. Kenny Holland has done the greatest job of drafting, developing, or acquiring goalies, but again, there are other issues. The defense was not particularly good in the postseason last season, and the Golden Knights series, a lot of times the Oilers gave up a boatload of goals. And in 2 games, number 3 and 6, the Oilers scored fewer than 3 goals in each. But even when they scored more, it was defense was a big problem. Stuart Skinner gave up a bunch of ugly goals, but by no means was he the only reason those Oilers didn't get past the Golden Knights in that conference semifinal. So let's see what happens, but goaltending could have to be better in the postseason. Regular season, we'll have to see. It's not all hopeless. It wasn't all hopeless. The Oilers did, after all, earn 10 points in the first 10, earned 20 points over 20 games, so not completely hopeless, but it was a battle. Whereas by the end of November, the Leafs were on a roll, and they never really faltered along the way, other than kind of like a rough patch, kind of 6-7 games in and around the All-Star break, when Austin Matthews was out temporarily. But again, I'm going to say more of the Leafs in a moment, but now I'm going to move on to the Winnipeg Jets. And very interesting offseason, acquired Colin Delia off free agency for the Canucks. But given how Colin Delia was a sieve, and Lauren Brossoit of the Golden Knights wasn't so much, I see Brossoit and Hellebuck battling out for the number 1 position. I'll see how the Jets do, but goaltending is going to be real important for the Jets. Not that Hellebuck was bad, but that last season the Jets almost missed out on the postseason. Goaltending may very well make the difference between the Jets seeing playoff action and not. But also have to remember that these Jets didn't. The Jets, also barely qualify. Jets barely qualified for playoff action. The lack of scoring, lack of consistent scoring, and I don't know. They were February was real bad. The lottery team. There was that back-to-back series, mid-March. Beat the Nashville Predators, but ended up being blanked by the St. Louis Blues. And it was 71. I think of that video, short video by I believe under 3 minutes, posted by the Burnaby, BC-based Peg City Hockey YouTube man, who claimed that his favorite team had sucked big time, being blanked by the St. Louis Blues at the Enterprise Center in eastern Missouri. Yeah. And it was time to put on the points like there had been no tomorrow, and the old Jets have been utterly inept in doing so. And I also think of, Hellebuck wasn't particularly good in either Game 4 or 5 of last April's Jets Golden Knights series. Yeah, because I believe at least 2 out of the goals in Game 4 and 3 in Game 5. But also the scoring wasn't there. After Game 3, pretty much the Jets quit, and goaltending will be was important. It did keep the Jets in the series, but even as they discovered they had limitations. Hellebuck could only do so much, and then when the pucks started going in the goal line, past Hellebuck, he couldn't stop enough of them. Game 5 was look at Game 5 and that disallowed goal, an attempt that Blake Wheeler would done a hand pass that assisted on. Well, as you know, as we all know, that hand pass meant the goal that what was supposed to have been, but would have otherwise been the second goal the Jets would have scored in that fifth and last game in that series, was called back. And I go with that TSN Sports Center segment, narrated by Lindsay Hamilton, and I think, hand pass. Now, my response at the end of the song, the end of that that clip of that disallowed goal, no penalty, but no goal, no goal, and with that no goal, no penalty, but no goal either. Series of effect would have been over. But even if that goal had been allowed to go through and count, it wouldn't have been enough. It would have been 4-2. 4-2 Golden Knights, not 4-1. So, Hellebuck would be more important matter. But then there's also Laurent Brossoit. How well will he do? I think the Jets are very well placed in goal. Whether the offense will provide those goalies the necessary support that they'll need. Good question. Defense will be good enough. Sure wasn't up to scratch in pretty much any of those games other than the first one, and it showed. Jets went 1-4 in that playoff series. So and to a claim made, in terms of series, in terms of that Jets, that video, called with Jets were either going to be a sleeping giant or an easy out. And with that claim made by TSN scouting director Craig Button, the Jets were going to be somehow a sleeping giant. Well, Game 1, yep. Game 1, the Jets came out strong. Game 2, I predicted the Golden Knights were going to put up a ton of resistance, and they sure as hell did. And it was no surprise, the series was tied at 1. Understandable. I wouldn't have thought the Golden Knights would go down 2-0. And they didn't. But when it was Game 3, very close game, but it was a loss. 5-4 in double overtime. Then the Jets were definitely in trouble then, and things would not get better for them after that third game. Game 4 was much worse. 4-2 loss. Then a 4-1 loss in Game 5. So, goaltending is going to be important, but I believe it'll only take the Jets so far. The restricted free agents who the Jets acquired from the Kings in exchange for sending center Pierre-Luc Dubois the other way, Rasmus Kupari, Gabe Vilardi, and Aloisai Fallow will have to drive the offense for the new team. For that team to have a chance, for their new team to have a chance of winning games. It'll be interesting to see, games. The Kings play against Canadian teams not feature any of Iafallo, Kupari, and Vilardi unless the Jets are playing those Kings. It's going to be interesting to say the least. It's going to be something getting used to. Who knows? Next, I'm not sure what. Well, anyway, talked enough about the Jets. So now I'm going to go on to the Kings. The Leafs. And yes, the offseason was a very interesting one. Quite a few free agent losses, among them Noel Acciari, Ryan O'Reilly, and Luke Shen. All of whom I had hoped new GM Brad Treliving fresh off his having been GM of the Flames, would have been able to re-sign. But there was quite a few pickups. The Leafs are still almost $3 million over this season's salary cap, even with Matt Murray and Jake Muzzin, respectively a goalie and a defenseman, on long-term injured reserve, also known as LTIR. So yeah, Leafs aren't even cap compliant with those two on LTIR. Not very good. So yeah, I give Leafs offseason a 7.5 stars out of 10. I mean, knocking down, of course, that the fact that the Leafs are not yet cap compliant, and there's still the question of whether how they're going to deal with the lack of a contract that covers at least 2024-25 season involving Will Nylander, a winger. But yeah, goaltending I think will be huge. And, Ilya Samsonov during last season was kind of inconsistent. Like Stuart Skinner, very good regular season goalie, but also like Stuart Skinner, a not so good playoff goalie. And Samsonov was injured during the last two games of the May Panthers-Leafs conference semifinal. Joe Woll did keep the Leafs in that series. Matt Murray backed up Joe Woll, but was not used. But now Murray's on LTIR, and well, it's going to be interesting to see at least if Murray will get to will play for the Leafs again. But it would be nice to have seen to have seen Murray bought out. Not very good season, often a sieve, but what's in the past is the past. Murray can't be bought out. But again, he's on LTR. Who knows if he's going to play again? Very often injured when with the Sens. Sens team that had been desperate to get rid of him during the last offseason. So yeah, will Joe Woll step up? I mean, it's going to be rather important for a goalie other than Samsonov to play some games. After all, it's not like the Leafs have necessarily very good goalies. I mean, let's go see what the Leafs have according to Cap Friendly, and just go to capfriendly.com/teams/Maple Leafs. So all I'm going to do is going to go to there and see what the goalie situation is. So I'm just going to go T here. I apologize if lighting is not the best in the world. It's at night. So you can see here you have the all right. Just gonna close that there. So you have Martin Jones, Joe Woll, Ilya Samsonov, and the minors we have under contract to the Leafs, but in the minors we have goalie who have three goalies. Artur Akiyamov, who's out on loan, probably one of the ice hockey teams in his native Russia. And the other three, Vyacheslav Peksa, Dennis Hildeby, and Keith Petrocelli, all in the minors. Not sure if they're the Newfoundland Growlers or Toronto Marlies, but last season, Leafs signed Petrocelli to an entry-level contract. Before that, he had been in the American Hockey League and had only ever played some preseason games for the Leafs. But he was called to back up Eric Shalgren, I believe was, when Matt Murray and Samsonov were injured. Yeah. So Petrocelli has, among those three, NHL experience, even if only limited to the preseason or just dressing for games. So it'll be interesting because in the development pipeline, they have on entry-level contracts, but among Peksa, Hildeby, and Petrocelli, the Leafs don't have, well, they don't have goalies who have ever, really have a lot of NHL experience. So, let's see what happens with Samsonov. Whether Wall will break out, whether Martin Jones will be, will will end up, taking some of the load off them. It's going to be interesting because it's not clear who the main backup is going to be. At this point, it's Joe Wall, but yeah. But again, in terms of cap hit, Wall has the lowest at just under $767,000 for each of the next 2 seasons. Jones has a cap hit of $875K. Samsonov, $3.55 million, awarded via arbitration. But for Samsonov, this season will end with him being an unrestricted free agent unless the Leafs can somehow re-sign him. Will they? It may be, because of the arbitration award. Let's see what happens. If the Leafs can sign Samsonov for not much more than $3.55 million, or if the Leafs said, "Nah, we're not going to sign you because you're asking for too much," what's going to happen then? It's going to be interesting, to say the least. These men will go for it this season because after that, their goaltending may not end up being so good. So now I'm going to go with the Senators and very interesting ad via Yunus Corpusalo, who did shut out the Leafs twice in a 2020 playoff series when with the Blue Jackets. Blue Jacket squad that pretty much ended up with the same point percentage, 56.5 of the Leafs. So the Sens have slightly under $900,000 of cap space, but that's pretty much effectively nothing. So what I'm going to do is going to go down to turn the goalie. They have Corpusalo. Short to medium term to reserve, we have Anton Forsberg, who, thinking of like a leg injury that pretty much sidelined him for the rest of that season, for however long the second season was going to last. So, sorry for the sirens. It's a city after all. Go to the minors, and we have Mads Sjogard, Livimir Linen, and Kevin Manalese. Well, the 3 who are in the minors are waivers exempt, but they were all used. And huge goalie carousel. So who's going to be the backup for the Senators? It's going to be interesting. Will Corpusalo perform well? We'll have to see. It's hard to predict if the Sens are going to see playoff action, but this is another season, I believe, of playoffs or bust. I didn't think last season the Senators were going to see playoff action. They've been out for so long, and I think, okay, if they make the playoffs, it'll be amazing. Even getting within, fewer than 10 points back was an accomplishment in itself. Can the Sens take the next step? We'll have to see. So now I'm going to go with to the Habs. And in season 3 of the rebuild, we look at we look at Carey Price on long-term injured reserve. It's pretty much been since the very end of the 2021-22 season. So in the main roster, we have we have Jake Allen, Casey Smith via trade from the Pens, and Sam Montembeault acquired off waivers. So last season, Allen and Montembeault were used. Let's see what happens, but it's the Habs do have the cap space. They they have slightly over $5.7 million available because Carey Price is on long-term injured reserve. In the minors, they have this. You have Jakub Dobes. Alright, so we have not sure how it's pronounced, but I know it's, I think of the Muslim form, spelling of Jacob, Yaqub. It is like that, but I'm just gonna have to try to do that. Alright, so whatever it is. So there are 2 goalies under contract to the Habs via the minors. You have Cade Primo and alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go so I'm going to go to the iPad. It's going to do there. Alright. Jakub Dobish. It's a Czech professional ice goalie born in the eastern Czech city of Ostrava, I believe, also hometown of one-time Leafs goalie Peter Mrazek. So it's very close to the border with Poland. It's going to be very interesting to find out what what the Habs preseason is going to be. I mean, the Habs tentatively have, their 1-2. Well, Allen Montembeault, Casey Smith, formerly with the Penguins. It'll be interesting to find out, but I don't see the Habs coming anywhere close to playoff action. I could be wrong, but it's going to just be season 3 of the rebuild, and goaltending could very well keep the Habs in a lot of games. But the Allen Montembeault duo wasn't exactly great last season. But to be fair, Habs gave up a boatload of goals. I believe the most among Canadian teams. So these Habs, if they're going to have a chance of winning some games, making things interesting, I think the goaltending is going to have to be very good. But will it? We'll see. I mean, defense still leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, it's a rebuild after all, and 2021 offseason was a disaster in a lot of ways, even with a Stanley Cup appearance. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video. If you like the video, please make sure to click that like button. So if you want to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. I try to put out videos at least every other week. And on that note, I'm going to post links as soon as I can after the video has been uploaded. On that note, I'm going to say good night and go Leafs go.